And you just spoke about nail paints. I mean, what is it with the extensions and all of that? Talk to us about it.
Very toxic stuff.
Okay.
You can use it once in a while. See, again, it's cumulative damage, right? I'd be like, for your wedding, do it. For big events, do it. Don't do it on a regular basis. It's about, I don't have data today to tell you like how many times you can use. I don't have hard data. But I would say like, unless it's really required, stay off it. Because it's cumulative damage. Now, it could be 2 times a year for me. It could be 10 times a year for you once we get to know the exposome data.
Okay.
But right now we don't. But I'd say like, maybe play between 3 and 4 because I think based on what knowledge there is that you should be using this the least.
Why do you think it's so toxic?
The chemicals in that will release X amount of pro-carcinogenic substances.
And even when we're eating with our hands.
No, it's just that when you're doing it itself, the inhalation part and everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The higher risk is for the salon people. When they do a straightening and smoothing, the higher risk is for them.
Oh boy. Okay. And they're not even aware of this.
They would be. They would have these, there's a guideline, there's an OSHA guideline that they have, that they must have carried out X number of treatments. Rooms should be ventilated. There are guidelines. I don't know how they're followed.
Okay.
But there are guidelines, at least big salons usually follow them, saying like, you tear when somebody's getting their hair straightened when you go for a haircut, right?
Okay.
When you straighten the hair.
It just comes out. Okay.
You tear up.
Yeah.
There's like so much of vapors that come in that have, I'm using very basic terms here.
Yes.
So much of vapors that come in that can have pro-carcinogenic activity. And then if you're somebody that's just gone in for a haircut, but somebody next to you is getting it, you're also getting exposed. And so they have this X amount of distance between chairs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens when we go to bed without removing the makeup?
It's just that the skin is that much more occluded. You can have bugs, small bugs that some mites that can come and inhabit uncleaned, unwashed skin.
Okay.
So it's just that you're putting your skin at risk of what happens if you don't brush your teeth, kind of a thing. Yeah.
It's very similar to that.
Probably not as impactful to others, but definitely impactful to the skin.
And what's a current trend or a popular product that you believe is doing more harm than good?
I think it's more about how people are actually using it versus the products themselves. I don't like this hair identifier spray. Okay, so to make you shave better, so when you're doing face shaving, people spray an aerosol.
Yeah.
That's so toxic. That's so dumb. Why would you do something like that? Why would you do something like that? And if you can't see the hair when you're shaving, who can see the hair? But they actually use it saying that it's better when you're doing makeup. It sits better and all of those things. It's just pretty toxic. Would I recommend that people ever use it? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You figure out better makeup products. That's about it.
Okay. Is there a trend you wish people would stop following altogether?
Just that 10-step routine and stuff. You layer products from different brands and you don't even know if they were even tested to work together. You don't even know. And people layer retinol, which actually is an angry guy when you layer it. Because it's been tested in a way that it penetrates in a particular way, right? And when you layer it with stuff, you're basically dumbing down the retinol. Or even worse, you're allowing patchy absorption, which creates patchy results. And then you say, okay, my retinol didn't work for me. Like, you're using it in a different way. But the problem is that the knowledge around all of these things also, like I wouldn't have known if I was not in product chemistry.
Okay.
I wouldn't have known if I actually did not look at how a product changes when in the test tube. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen it being born. Right?
Okay.
I would have seen the outcome. I would have understood in a particular way in the clinical sense. But if I hadn't seen, for example, you can make a zinc 30, 50 SPF sunscreen become useless by just changing a point in pH. But I would have never understood because I've always seen the finished goods.
Correct.
When I'm working.
Correct.
So if I had not had this extension, which I really reluctantly went into initially.
Okay.
Because nobody else was making those things.
The research part of it.
Yeah. Because I actually had reached out to multiple other companies initially when I started out saying like, I have the idea, but I don't want to do it myself because I am a clinician first. But at that point, it felt like there were people who were understanding how this needs to be tweaked. Over the last maybe about 12 years. I asked for it first in 2013.
Hmm.
In 12 years, I realized like, okay, I'm going to have to do this at some level. Yeah. And that's when the knowledge about how products interact, how this whole exposome science came into being, all of that came through over a period of time.
Okay.
So I think this is a nascent field. More and more people are getting to understand this, but over a period of time, again, I'm going to invoke exposome science.
Yeah.
We will get to know way better than we do now.